Why Arizona football is losing its fight to fill empty seats despite winning is the latest bombshell testimony in the college basketball scandal giving Sean Miller nightmares, and how justice showed her face during a racist rant unleashed on Mexican women speaking Spanish. The 520 starts now. Well, welcome to the 520. I'm Steve Nunez.
And I'm Artie Mata IV. Thanks for joining us.
And today marks episode number 52 for the 520 in our 1-year anniversary. Many of you are probably asking, is that why Artie is like wearing a jacket, a suit jacket, and dressed to the nines, as Artie could be dressed to the nines?
Well, that's what we'll
Good
call
and
it.
bad news.
Good and bad news.
Good news first. Congratulations. You got a job. The bad news, Artie is leaving the 520 to move to Dallas.
Where the sun shines and the grass is always green, in the Paradise City.
Coming from a Green Bay Packers fan.
Yeah, hey, it's going to be tough. It's going to be real
Dallas.
tough. It's going to be real tough, but college football is prevalent in Dallas, Texas, and that's what I'm mostly excited about.
What exactly are you going to be doing there?
Just a lot of financial work, and that's all I'd like to disclose.
Trying to make some Skrillers.
Trying to make some Skrillers. But, of course, I'd like to thank everyone from the top down. Steve, of course, our producers, all of our executives, the news directors. Everyone had to play a part of this. But all the young, aspiring sports journalists, never say no to a job because you don't know where it might lead.
Expiring, but let me just tell you
Expiring.
one thing. Here's my parting gift to you. Okay.
I decline.
52 episodes.
I decline.
I'm 52-0 against you. I've won all 52 battles.
No, thank you.
I offer you my scarf. It
Steve,
hasn't been washed in 4 years.
You shouldn't have.
But guess what? It's a lucky scarf.
You shouldn't have, Steve. Go ahead, just leave it there. I'll pick it up at the end of the show.
All right, man. Ready to turn
Let's
this
ring
up?
them out one last time.
All right,
ring them
one
out.
last time, baby. Let's do it. All right, Arizona picked up his third win against Cal to stay in bowl contention, but have fans already given up on Kevin Sumlin and the team's failure to live up to its hype and expectations? We'll take a look at all those empty seats at Arizona Stadium. A measly 44,253 fans showed up to cheer on the Wildcats win over Cal 24-17. I can tell you, many of them left by the third quarter as the Cats' predictable offense sputtered to a season-low 265 total yards. Not a good sign, since Arizona's athletic department is counting on filling those seats to help recoup $87 million in athletic renovations. And bottom line, the product on the field is just not that exciting,
mediocre,
not that good, not cohesive, and fans are frustrated. You can hear them in the stands. They are not happy.
I'll tell you what, though, the glass is half full for the defense, because it's the first time that anyone on the field for the Wildcats have proved that they're reliable. The defense kind of unfolded, but I still don't think the defense will be the future of the Wildcats. This isn't the second coming of the Desert Swarm. They're starting to just find out what they're good at. But I'll tell you what, I think it's time we all give up on Khalil Tate. I think he's not the prophet. He's just a really good quarterback at this point.
You know, when you talk about Desert Swarm, remember, the fans bought into Desert Swarm in the 90s when it was pretty good offense, but incredibly great defense. That's just not happening right now.
Of course it's not. And that's coming towards the middle of the season, towards the big conference games. If Arizona cannot rack up at least a win next week, I say stop focusing on winning, start focusing on developing. Let a lot of the underclassmen take some snaps. That's soon.
After Game 7?
After Game 7.
Start looking to the future?
Start looking to the future. Start
Arizona
to develop.
doesn't have very good players at number 2, 3, and 4.
And that's what I think Arizona needs, is sort of an open challenge on the practice field, on the bench. Figure out who the next playmaker is going to be. Give them their opportunity to at least get 1 to 2 touches a game.
Here's what I'm going to say. They already know who their playmakers are. Why don't you start putting them in positions of strength and design plays to fit your playmakers? Again, where have the tight ends been?
Where has the running game been since
Correct.
Southern Utah?
And of course, we can say that, where has Khalil Tate been? But if he wants to get better, and if Arizona wants to beat Utah, he has to do better than 141 yards passing and 40 yards rushing on the ground as he did against Cal. Bottom line. But here's what I'm going to say, too. I blame Sumlin and offensive coordinator Neil Mazzoni, because if you look at them on the sidelines, they're not talking to Tate. They're not providing guidance, direction, telling him, hey, here are the X's and O's. Here's what you need to learn. Here's the mistakes you made. Here's how you can improve on it on the next time you see this defense. No communication whatsoever, and that's why I think there's a real disconnect. Really quick, though, looking ahead to Game 7, it's a Friday night game. Arizona 3-2, 2-1 in Pac-12 play. The Friday night game will kick off under the lights at Rice Echo Stadium at 7 o'clock. Utah 3-2, 1-2 in Pac-12. Utah coming off a big win over 14th-ranked Stanford, who was missing star running back Bryce Love, their first win against a top 25 opponent since 2015. That game on ESPN.
What do you got?
Last year, Utah beat Arizona 30-24. This year, I've got Arizona beating Utah 30-24. Payback, baby.
And I tried to be a bit of a realist last week picking Cal, but I still got to be a realist this week picking the Utes 45-35. Lots of scoring in the first half, not the second half.
Wear the scarf.
I can't.
It'll bring you luck. Maybe you'll win a debate for once.
Stain my jacket.
All right. Arizona was mentioned a second time in the FBI trial, offering a player thousands to play for the Wildcats. But does this latest claim carry any legal weight, or is it a case of hearsay? Well, the 520 says this latest claim is nothing more than overblown he said, she said accusations. Brian Bowen Sr. testified last Thursday that his son Brian Bowen Jr. was offered $50,000 to play for Arizona. He stated in court Christian Dawkins, an aspiring sports agent, told him former Arizona assistant coach Joe Pasternak offered to pay Bowen, although he never talked directly to anyone at Arizona about it. Nightmares for Sean Miller, or is this one of those situations where he's sleeping a little bit easier?
A little bit. I think he's sleeping a little bit easier. For once, Steve and I are on the same page. I don't think this cuts the cord directly from Arizona's involvement in this whole thing, but I think that this might even simply just be a case of miscommunication between the parent and the agent.
Here's the deal. Brian Bowen Sr., testified he actually took money from an assistant coach at Louisville. He took money. The key word is they exchanged cash. That's where it becomes a crime. When he testified that Arizona offered money, he never said there was an exchange of money, which amounts to nothing more than hearsay.
Of course.
So at this point, I think the defense for Jim Gatto and Christian Dawkins and another person with Adidas, right now they are breaking down the NCAA and making them look like they are the corrupt ones and not any other players. And if they're going to go down, everyone's going to go down.
And that's the only saving grace that Arizona has right now, is it's either going to be everybody or it's going to be nobody.
And you better believe if the NCAA starts, if the NCAA goes down, you better believe there's going to be sanctions, though, against some of those universities named, even if there was no cash exchange, just because the NCAA is not going down in flames on its own. Better believe it. All right. Despite the dark cloud of accusations of pay-for-play hanging over Arizona, why are the top recruits still choosing to play for Sean Miller? Well, the Wildcats got its second five-star commitment for 2019. Five-star Australian guard Josh Green announced his commitment to Arizona last Thursday, meaning he'll rejoin longtime friend Nico Mannion in a powerhouse Wildcat backcourt starting in 2019-2020.
Gotta give it to him.
Miller, you have to give him credit, but what a salesman. What could he be telling these players to continue to come to Arizona with that dark cloud hanging over the program?
Well, like we said previously, it's a case against the NCAA. It's not a case directly against Arizona, although everybody's name is getting dragged through the garbage. But that's the thing about it, is the more and more names that go through the garbage, the less and less Arizona's name can get compromised from it. And that's probably what Sean Miller's selling point is to these kids right now is, hey, look, you're either going to deal with this with me or you're going to deal with this with everyone else mentioned.
I think this class, though, is projected to be a top 5 class already for 2019. It's amazing that he was able to also get Nico Mannion, who's also a 5-star guard. But when you look at it, though, Sean Miller was able to put together a top 22 class for this coming year. And whatever he's selling these players, I think the bottom line is it's going back to Arizona's reputation as a top basketball school, as opposed to probably what Sean Miller is telling these kids. Why? Because we're in the limelight every year.
We have to call it like that.
Call it like that, baby. All right, well, it's time now for Rapid Fire. I fire off a topic with a local sports connection. Artie fires back a rapid response, hopefully. All right, he does not know what I'm going to throw at him. Are you ready for this? This is your last rapid fire, baby. Here you go.
Roll it.
Well, Tucsonan and ex-Wildcat Matt Brazy, Lute Olson's grandson, was promoted to assistant coach for the Houston Rockets. Ex-Wildcat Joseph Blair will replace him as head coach of the G League's Rio Grande Valley. What does that say about Sean Miller, who let go of JB from his staff just a couple of years ago?
It says that the two of them probably weren't getting along. There probably wasn't a lot of coexisting going on, but I guarantee Sean Miller has his bits and pieces to say about that hire as well.
JB led the Wildcats to a Final Four, one of the players. You should keep him on your staff, right?
And if he had loyalty to Tucson, he would. But here we are again, right?
All right. Well, in 4 preseason games, ex-Wildcat and #1 NBA draft pick DeAndre Ayton is averaging a double-double with 20.5 points and 11.3 rebounds per game. Do you take back your criticism of DeAndre Ayton and claiming that he's overrated and will not be the Rookie of the Year?
I do not.
Take it back.
I do not take it back because I meant when I said very specifically that he is a very good oil transmission and a giant, under the hood of a giant running car. There's still the engine, there's still a carburetor, there's still a battery. He's just a nice running transmission.
That is the worst analogy I've ever heard. Just remember this, though. He's averaging 1.8 assists, 1 steal, and 2.5 blocks per game on top of a double-double.
He's a great
Get
flanker.
over it.
He's a great
Not
flanker.
overrated. Well, ex-Wildcat and undrafted New York Knicks guard Alonzo Trier dropped 25 points in 26 minutes in a 107-102 win over New Jersey. Are you shocked Trier is making a case to make the Knicks regular season roster?
I'm not surprised
Undrafted.
he is. He can make a case for it. Will he stay relevant and can he stay competitive in the full swing of the NBA season? I don't think so. I think this is as good as it gets.
All right. Well, 6 years after getting canned from Arizona, ex-Wildcat football coach Mike Stoops was fired as Oklahoma's defensive coordinator in midseason. Are you surprised it didn't happen sooner?
Happened sooner for the Sooners. I'm very surprised it didn't happen sooner. There was a lot of headbutting between him and the players and the coaching staff. He was a bit of a parasite in the locker room. A bit of a parasite in the locker room.
Sideline antics and all of the facial gestures and attacking players as they're coming off the field. I'm glad he got fired.
If a guy tells you he's a bad guy, you believe him.
He's a punk. Well, what's more impressive? The Tucson Roadrunners' 4 goals in the 3rd period to beat the San Diego Gulls 6-4 in the season opener, or the near sellout of more than 6,300 fans in attendance.
The near sellout is what they care about. It's what the city cares about. It's what the economy cares about. Keep them coming. Give us a reason to be excited.
Go Tucson Roadrunners. 6,300
We're all bought in now. Everyone's bought in now.
All right, good job on rapid fire. All right, let's jump right into Do We Care? As you know, we love to tackle community issues and not just sports and ask ourselves, do we care? Well, 1 out of every 4 homes in Tucson is owned by a Hispanic, according to new data released by the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Now, the data also shows spending by Hispanics in the state totaled $47 billion, with the B, billion, in 2017. Do we care?
Yes, we care. I think it's about time that we can no longer deny the hand that the Hispanics have in the Tucson market. Now, let's just hope that all of them put it to the test and vote.
You hit the nail right on the head. If you have that affluency growing in Tucson among Hispanics, and over 300,000 are eligible to vote, they better get out and vote. Period.
Couldn't have said it better, period. Tucson is listed as the 10th slowest growing large city in America. Wallet Hub compared economic data from 515 cities. Do we care?
Well, just as bad, Tucson ranks 403 in job growth, 472 in the number of business growth. Tucson just has to really start being more business friendly to grow the economy and build infrastructure. We keep saying this on this road, We keep saying this on this show, on the 520. Tucson has got to build better roads, better infrastructure, and bring businesses here. Because guess what? No one wants to come here when you have bad roads, no infrastructure, and a lot of government red tape. And
maybe start offering a little bit more tax breaks. New Mexico is thriving right now with their new initiatives. But from lawmaker to civilian, we have to figure out what the priority would be for Tucson, and we have to all stand together and figure out what we want Tucson to be about.
All right. Well, Geico plans to open a new corporate office in Tucson by May 2019, bringing 700 new jobs to the city. We were just talking about
job growth.
And do we care?
With all those problems and negative stats, no, we don't care. This is small potatoes. We've seen it 100 times before.
I care big time. It is not small potatoes. Any job gained in Tucson is a win for the city, especially 700. Geico promises to pay, on average, those employees about $45,000. You're talking about a city that is a minimum wage town. To get paid that well in Tucson, I think is a win-win big time.
Of course.
All right, quickly, one more.
7 new bars and restaurants open in Tucson during the month of September, but everyone is talking about Dutch Brothers Coffee. The Oregon-based chain plans to open more shops around town, and that line went all the way to Congress.
Look, do we care? I care no, I don't care about Dutch Brothers and why everyone's talking about the Dutch Brothers. I don't know what the hype is. I don't know what.
It's iced coffee, man.
I don't care about that. Here's why. Because it's non-local. Non-local businesses, for every $100 spent there, keep $13 in the local economy. Whereas if you buy local from a local coffee shop, every $100 spent there, $43 stays in our economy. That's what I'm talking about.
And that's why we don't care.
But that's why we should care.
Oh,
let's make it about local businesses.
That's why we do care. That's why we do care. I agree, Steve.
All right. Is Governor Doug Ducey covering up details on how his border strike force operates so he can inflate drug seizure stats to push his own political agenda? Well, during his re-election campaign, Ducey has staged 2 press conferences crediting his border strike force with seizing more than 17 million hits of heroin, 60,000 pounds of marijuana, and making nearly 3,200 arrests. The governor has refused to release supporting documents that would verify those crime stats. Once again, Governor Doug Ducey.
Looking
You
goofy.
can say inflating the crime stats, or you can just say flat out, as we call it like it is on the 520, he's lying about it.
We've talked about so many times his continuous campaigning. He's just in the business of wanting acknowledgement. But for the sake of the state of Arizona, let's at least hope that the DEA, the Border Patrol, has those statistics, has that information for the sake of operations and efficiency.
And that's exactly where the waters become muddied, is because they're all keeping stats, and they all have to keep stats for their own personal gain, per se, and for federal funding. But then here comes Ducey stealing all those stats from them to take credit for it, and that just hurts everyone. Right now, Santa Cruz County Sheriff Tony Estrada and Yuma County Sheriff Larry Wilmot are calling basically BS on Doug Ducey and his border strike force stats. Why? Because they say, how can such a small force of DPS officers do what the entire state agency of different officers are doing around the state? I mean, the numbers don't add up. Per capita, they don't add up. Per officer.
And let's not forget, earlier in the year, the call to action to militarize the border. This might also just be more massaging the truth, more spreading statistics around, calling it what it isn't.
And bottom line, those Border Strike Force officers are not even patrolling along the border. It's not happening. Those numbers are super overinflated. All right, well, you've heard the phrase, oh, no, you didn't. Well, here at the 520, we're not afraid to tell it like it is with, oh, yes, we did. In the land of freedom of speech, what is wrong with speaking Spanish, especially if you're from Mexico in the country legally and spending money? Well, apparently, this racist woman didn't like it. Take a look.
Hey, get out of here now. You know what? Do not. I'm calling the cops. You know what? You leave these women alone. Get out. You know go. You come from a different generation. No, I do not. I have respect, and it does not matter. You don't harass people like this. You will lose your temper. All right. You know what? You will lose this. No.
Well, for every villain, there's a hero, a woman who witnessed the hate-filled tirade, roared back at the racist woman, silencing her racism. But again, this is becoming all too frequently in the United States of America today.
I agree, Ed. As a Hispanic male speaking in front of a Hispanic male, I just want to propose the question of, if we respond back verbally, we're taken as uncivil. If we respond back physically, we're taken back as uncivil. So what can the Hispanic community do to protect themselves? Of course, I'd like to acknowledge the police officer that stepped in that instance, but how can the Hispanic community continue to grow and continue to progress with no protection, and our protection can't even be counted as our word?
Justice showed her face in two forms. First, the woman who came to the defense of the two Spanish-speaking women. Also, you're right, in the police officer who actually did not throw this under the rug. He actually took action and arrested that woman for harassment. And I think that sends a huge message, especially in a day and age where we're arguing about which football player is kneeling and which one is not, and why are they kneeling and why aren't they? Are they patriotic? Are they unpatriotic? Is it a slap in the face of the military? But for that officer to take action, especially when so many are protesting against police officers the few who aren't taking action, I think that just changes the narrative to say that there is a glimmer of hope that something positive will be done, and hopefully things will change or start to change. Because that woman was brazen.
Of course.
Brazen not only in yelling at two other grown women, but brazen in her stance as showing privilege.
And entitlement.
And entitlement to say, I'm above you, therefore you go to the back of the line or the back of the bus, so to speak, taking us 100 years back. Let's be honest.
Of course, we have to take it as it is, but that could propose a resolution, is that there needs to be a little bit more of legal action taken for instances like this, because it is detrimental. It could be traumatizing to the victim. I think that the police officer did a fantastic job. Let it be an example for the future.
All right, well said. Check this out. Before we go, take a look at the video clip of the week. Here's a Chad, or maybe Brad, hopping over the ledge and rushing onto the Arizona football field for this little stunt. Get this though, no one noticed. Hey, security, what security? At this point, he should just become a part of Sumlin's coaching team for outsmarting everyone else on the sidelines. Embarrassing. I was just waiting for a football player to notice that he should not have been on the field and just tackle his butt. Put him on his back.
Crack the shells. Reminds me of that instance back when we played UCLA, 2011 or 12. Guy dressed up as a referee. Hey, I was laughing. I was laughing.
You know, what was worse is when he jumped off that bike and he actually went near the players and the coaching staff. You know, absolutely amazing that no one recognized that. But that proves my point that Sumlin doesn't even turn around to talk to Khalil Tate or Neil Mazzoni, so he didn't even look back to see that somebody shouldn't have been there, you know? He would have never recognized it.
He's focused. He's plugged in.
Well, that does it for this episode of the 520. Our goal is to tell it like it is because it's all about giving voice to opinions even if you don't agree.
And be sure to follow the 520 on Facebook and on Twitter at the 520 Tucson.
And if you have a topic you want us to cover, send us an email at the520@kvoa.com. I'm Steve Nunez.
I'm Artie Mata IV. So long, everybody.
Go Wildcats. Congratulations, man.
In the numbers.